So we're going to do a little practice customizing. So we're going to stop running our app. And it does let you customize views without stopping the app. But if you try to customize a controller, you're going to get all these little error flags because it doesn't like when you customize the controller when the app is running. So stopping the app is probably just a good habit to get into. And what we're going to do, I'm going to close some of these. We're going to go into the home controller. And we're going to do a little bit of customizing. So looking at the top of this, you can see all of the different using statements. And then below that, it's got its own namespace. And then you can see that the home controller is actually derived from the controller, from that controller class, which is part of MVC. Inside here, we have what's called iLogger. Basically, it's for error handling. And we're just going to kind of leave that alone. And what's interesting here is that all of the action methods start with I. And you might be wondering why. So the older version of MVC, okay, the one that was before .NET Core, has the same action method names. So to make the names in .NET Core unique, they put a capital I in front. Okay, so that's kind of how you can tell that you're in a .NET Core application versus an older MVC application. Because the older MVC applications do not have I action results, they just have action results. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a little modification here. And if we look at our index method here, right now it just says return view. So it's automatically going to views, home, and index. Now we can tell it to go to any view that we want to. Okay. And to do that, under index and return view, inside the parentheses, we just have to put the name of the view we want it to go to. And we're going to have it go to a view called CIT 218. So right now, that view does not exist. And we need to create it. So what we're going to do to create this, it has to be in the home folder because we are in the home controller. So what we're going to do is simply copy index.cshtml, and we're going to paste in our home folder. And then we're going to rename this thing. And we're going to call it CIT 218. And then we're going to open it up. In your views, anything that starts with an @ sign is Razor code. And so this has got a little dynamic variable called view data. And then we've got title, and it says homepage, and we are going to change that to CIT 218 rocks. Or you can put is awesome or whatever you want. Then down here, we've got our HTML. And so we're going to change what's inside the H1. And we're going to call it web apps. And then we're going to go ahead and add a little paragraph here. And you guys can kind of type whatever you want. And we'll keep that link right as is. And at this point, it should route to this page when we run the app. So let's save everything. And we're going to run our app. So how can I tell that it worked? Well, I can see the CIT 218 rocks here, which was the title. And then I can see the sentence that I added, and I can see web apps here. Can I still get to the index? Yes. I can actually manually key in the home controller, index action method. Oop. And actually, it's not going to route me properly because we overrode that. So if we want to keep our original page and have access to that, instead of displaying our new page, we can either modify our index action method, right? We can come in here and stop this. We can go back in here and we can get rid of the CIT 218. Or maybe we can have a little parameter keyed in after home and index that will tell it to route to the 218 page. Because remember when we were looking at the default route, it went to home and index, and then it had this optional ID. So let's pull in that optional ID. Okay, so we're still working with this little index action method. But now we're going to pull in a parameter. And it's going to be a string. And we're going to call it ID. And we're going to create a little variable to store that in. It's going to be a string. We're just going to call it CView. And we're setting that equal to ID. So if CView is equal to CIT. Okay, if that's true, we're going to have it return the CIT 218 view. Okay. Otherwise, else, we are going to have it return the default view, which is that index view. Okay, now let's save all our changes here, and we're going to run the app again. So now it is routing to the index.cs.html page because there was no parameter entered. And if we want to see our CIT 218 page, then we have to enter home controller, index action method, and then we have to pass CIT. Okay, and then it goes to our new page. Now you may be wondering, do controllers always, the controller action methods, do they always go to views? No, they do not have to. You can actually have them return data and display it. The disadvantage of doing that is that you're going to miss out on the menu system. But to show you what that looks like, we are going to create one. So we're going to stop. And right below this index, we're going to create our own little action method. So we're going to call this is, I'm putting a little comment in here that this is a get method. And it's going to return a string. So the return data type is not an action result. Okay, our return data type is a string. And we've got the curly braces, return, and I want you guys to put in your first name and then whatever message you want to follow. So this little method that we created is not routing to a view. Okay, so we're going to save it. And we're going to go ahead and run our app again. And then up in our address bar, we're going to key in home slash and then my index. Okay, and you can see that it did not route to a view. And you can also see that you kind of lose your nice little menu system user interface there, and all you get is text. So it's probably not the most user-friendly way to display something. It'd actually be better to pass it along to a view and have the view display it. Okay, so running all of your output through the views helps maintain that constant user interface.